The people in the audience laughed loudly on live TV. Bright lights shone all over the studio. The host of the show, who was known for making fun of people and teasing them, smiled in a mean way. She looked at Keanu Reeves and asked with a smirk, "You, Keanu, do you really believe there's someone up there watching over you? Especially after everything you've been through?" The audience laughed even more. The camera showed Keanu. He didn't say anything. He quietly held the small cross that hung from his neck. His eyes were calm and steady. He didn't get mad. He didn't fight back. He just stayed quiet and felt something deep inside. Then a strong, deep voice spoke. What the host didn't know was that something important was about to happen. Something that could change how she thought about faith, maybe even change her life. You see, Keanu Reeves isn't just a famous actor from movies. He is someone who lost many things in his life, but he's still standing strong. Not because of money or being strong, but because of something special the world was trying to laugh at that night. Faith. Stay with us to see how this story goes. And hey, before we start, tell us in the comments where in the world you are watching from. We love to hear from you and we read all the messages. The studio looked like a big arena. Bright lights crossed each other above the stage, shining on the shiny black walls. The audience clapped and cheered. They were excited, waiting for something funny, shocking, or maybe both. The show was known for being loud, silly, and even a little mean. The host walked on stage. The crowd cheered loudly. "Ladies and gentlemen," she shouted. "He's an actor, a producer, a guy who loves motorcycles, a legend, and maybe even a little like a monk. Please welcome Keanu Reeves." The people clapped and cheered. It was very loud. Keanu walked on calmly. He wore dark jeans, a black jacket, and a simple t-shirt. Around his neck was a small cross on a chain. It looked different from the rest of his outfit, like it meant something special. Keanu nodded and gave a small, kind smile. He didn't hurry or try to act big. He sat down like someone who had been through many things, and this was just one more moment. At first, the questions were easy, about his movies, behind-the-scenes stories. Keanu answered softly and kindly. The audience laughed and enjoyed it. But soon the mood started to change. "Keanu," the host said with a tricky smile, "you seem like a peaceful guy. Maybe even kind of spiritual. But let me ask you something. Do you really believe in miracles? After all the things Hollywood has shown you? After everything life has taken from you?" The audience laughed again. Keanu didn't. His eyes were calm, but you could tell he was thinking. He didn't answer right away. He just listened. Silence. Silence. The most spiritual kind of answer, the host joked. The people laughed again. Keanu looked down for a moment and gently touched his cross necklace. It was a small move, quiet, but it meant a lot. The camera zoomed in a little on the cross. It moved softly as Keanu's fingers touched it. Then he looked up. His eyes were calm and focused. He still didn't say anything. Just sat there. Just was there. The host kept talking, making jokes about faith, about God, about religion being something people use to make themselves feel better. The audience laughed again, but something in the room had changed. You could feel it. Then came a bigger question. "Do you really think there's someone up there watching over you?" Keanu didn't answer right away. The audience waited. It was a big moment. If he said the wrong thing, people might laugh at him. But if he told the truth, something amazing could happen. Then Keanu spoke. His voice was soft, calm, and low. "If I'm still standing after everything, it wasn't just luck." His words were like a stone dropped in still water. Everything got quiet. The laughter stopped. People looked at each other like asking, "Did you feel that too?" The camera showed the cross again. It didn't look like a decoration anymore. It looked like a message. The host tried to tell another joke to make people laugh, but the laughs were soft now. Something had changed. Keanu didn't get mad. He didn't argue. He just stayed still. Calm. Quiet. Nobody knew it yet, but that small cross wasn't just jewelry. That cross was about to change everything. The lights in the studio dimmed a little. The mood was not the same as before. Keanu had said something real. Now people were feeling something new. It wasn't just fun anymore, it was something deeper. The host leaned closer. She gave a fake smile. Things weren't going the way she wanted, but she wasn't ready to give up. "So, Keanu, let's talk about religion since we're already on the topic." The audience chuckled, but it didn't feel as fun now. The host talked in a silly voice, using sarcasm again. "You know what I always say," she said with a smirk. "Religion is just like a fairy tale for people who are scared to grow up. All that God has a plan stuff, sure it's comforting, but come on, it's not really true, is it?" Some people laughed louder this time. A few clapped. It looked like the audience was trying to go back to the usual silly mood. But Keanu didn't move. He didn't make a face. He didn't look annoyed or angry. He didn't even sigh. He simply touched the cross again. Not holding it tight, not showing off. Just resting his fingers on it, like it helped him stay calm. The camera showed him again. No fear. No stress. Just peace. While people were laughing, something started to happen on screen. A voice spoke. It was soft and thoughtful, almost like a story was beginning. What the world saw on that stage, the voice said, was a man being tested. But what they didn't see was the road he walked to get there. The screen slowly changed to black and white pictures. First, a funeral. A tiny casket. Keanu stood beside it in black clothes, not moving. His face looked empty. Then a hospital hallway. A blurry picture of him holding someone's hand. Then a subway train. Keanu sat alone, staring out the window. A book was in his lap, but he wasn't reading it. We saw what he had been through. The loss of his baby daughter. The death of the woman he loved. His best friend passed away. And through it all, he never let sadness make him bitter. He didn't become angry. His pain turned into something kind. His silence became like a quiet prayer. The picture stopped. Then real voices began. These were true stories from real people. A rideshare driver. He gave me a $500 tip. I thought it was a mistake. He just smiled and said, "You were kind. The world needs more of that." A woman. I saw him at a gas station. My car was too hot. He didn't just help, he stayed for an hour. No cameras. No rush. A fan. I was crying on the street. He sat next to me like he knew me. He didn't ask what was wrong. He just listened. Back in the studio, the host was still talking, trying to make fun of the Bible. She said verses in a funny voice, like a silly preacher. "The meek shall inherit the earth," she said, laughing. "Yeah, well, good luck with that in LA." The audience laughed again, but it wasn't loud. Something had changed. The room wasn't full of laughter anymore. There were long, quiet pauses between the jokes. And through it all, Keanu stayed still. Calm. Quiet. But something inside everyone had begun to change. She laughed. The people watching laughed too, but not as much. Something felt different. The room was quieter than before. There were big quiet moments between the laughs now. Keanu was still sitting there, quiet and calm. The host looked at him again. This time she sounded a little upset. "Are you really not going to say anything?" she asked. "Do you really think someone is out there taking care of you?" For the first time that night, Keanu looked right at her. His eyes weren't mean or angry. They were deep and calm. Then he said, "If I'm still here, if I'm still standing after everything I've been through, it's not just because I got lucky." The crowd went quiet. Really quiet. For the second time that night, no one said a word. It didn't feel like people were bored. It felt like they were thinking deeply. Even the camera seemed to move slower. It wasn't just the words Keanu said. It was how he said them. No acting. No pretending. Just the truth. The crowd stayed silent. No more laughs. But something big was about to happen. Something that would change what people thought about believing, hurting, and healing. Everyone sat still and quiet. It was the kind of quiet where it feels like something important is about to happen. But Keanu didn't talk again. He didn't have to. He just sat there, his fingers gently resting on the cross he wore. He wasn't trying to show it off. He wasn't hiding it either. He was just being himself. The host, feeling like maybe she said something wrong, moved in her seat and gave a small nervous laugh. "Well, that got serious," she said, trying to make things feel normal again. "Maybe we should talk about something fun like stunts or puppies." Some people laughed a little, but then it stopped. The mood had changed. Something deeper was in the room now. On the screen, the narrator's voice came back. "What does it mean to believe quietly? To carry pain but not let it turn into anger?" Keanu never gave big speeches. He didn't talk about beliefs all the time. But his life told a story. The screen turned black and white. Now it showed real moments from Keanu's life, not from movies. One scene, Keanu was standing alone at a graveyard. He was at his daughter's funeral. His eyes looked empty. His hands were stuffed into his coat sleeves. He looked very, very sad. Another scene, years later, he was sitting on a subway train in New York. No one noticed him. He sat quietly in the corner. His head was tilted like he was listening to something no one else could hear. Some people carry heavy feelings by themselves. Not because they want to be strong, but because they feel like they have no choice. Now we hear voices of people talking about Keanu. A person from a movie set said, "He always came early. He never complained. One day he saw me limping and gave me his chair. I was just part of the background crew." A nurse said, "My mom was dying. We were at the same hospital as Keanu. He sat with us for 15 minutes. He didn't say he was famous. He was just there with us. A man with his face hidden said, "He paid for my brother's surgery. No news stories, no big deal. I only found out because the hospital called." Back in the studio, the host gave a tight smile and leaned toward Keanu again. "You know, people say pain makes us better or more human. But I think pain is just pain. It doesn't make us wise. It just ruins things." She laughed, but it sounded sad. Keanu didn't stop her. He just listened, calm and caring. He wasn't there to argue, just to be present. The host let out a big breath and waved her hand like she was trying to forget everything she just said. "I mean, you wear a cross, that's fine. But you don't actually think it means anything, right? It's just a symbol. Just fashion." Everyone waited. Keanu looked at her slowly. His voice was steady but had a quiet strength now. "I don't wear it for fashion," he said. "I wear it for memory, for forgiveness, for survival." He didn't sound dramatic. He sounded like someone who had said those words to himself many times, when he was all alone. The camera showed his necklace again. But now it didn't look like just a thing he wore. It looked like it had a story. A deep, true story the world was only starting to understand. The host didn't say anything. She opened her mouth but then closed it. The crowd was silent. No one moved. No one took out their phones. No laughing. Just being there. The narrator's voice came back again. "In a world full of loud voices and strong opinions, there's something powerful about someone who simply lives what they believe." Keanu didn't speak again. He just breathed, slowly, calmly, holding the quiet space. The host cleared her throat and smiled again. But this time it didn't feel real. Something inside her was changing. Not in front of the camera but deep inside. What no one knew was that the person who had teased Keanu the most was about to say something that would change the whole show, and her own life. The show came back from a break, but something felt different. The studio was softer. The crowd, who used to laugh easily, now sat quietly. Their eyes were wide open. Their hearts were listening. Even the lights looked softer, like the cameras knew this part wasn't planned. The host came back to her seat. She looked like she was trying to act normal, but something had changed. Her smile was there, but not like before. Her eyes didn't smile. She looked at Keanu. Then she looked at her own hands. One hand was shaking just a little. She tried to laugh it off, but her voice broke. "Okay," she said, almost like she was talking to herself. "Let's talk about something real." Keanu didn't move. He just waited, calm, ready. The host took a deep breath. Her voice was softer now. Not a show voice. Her real voice. "When I was little," she began, "I used to pray every night. I would close my eyes really tight and ask God to make me normal." She didn't even know what normal meant. She just thought maybe if she was normal, she wouldn't be scared all the time. She wouldn't feel so wrong. Everyone listened. No one moved. The quiet was gentle now. Not scary. Sacred. She kept talking. Her eyes were shiny with tears. "I would pray, please don't let me go to hell. Please let me be enough just the way I am." But nothing happened. No voice. No sign. So she stopped praying. Then she started making fun of all of it, the prayers, the books, the people who believed. She told herself, it's all fake. Just a way to feel better. She laughed, but this time the laugh was soft and sad. "Maybe I didn't laugh at your belief, Keanu. Maybe. I laughed at my own pain." Keanu looked at her gently. He didn't judge. He didn't feel sorry for her. He just cared. The camera showed his face as he leaned in and spoke quietly. "No one who suffers while praying is ever alone. Someone always hears, even if you don't realize it." For a moment everything stopped. A woman in the crowd wiped her eyes. Another held her breath. The host blinked slowly. Her strong act was fading. Her true self was showing. "I used to think silence meant no one was listening," she whispered. "But maybe, I just didn't know how to listen back." The camera pulled back slowly. There they were, Keanu and the host, just sitting together. No bright lights. No loud music. Just two people. Honest. Open. Real. Keanu didn't say anything else. He didn't have to. The host looked at him, really looked, and gave a tiny little nod. It was so small that most people wouldn't notice. It was like she was saying, "Thank you," or maybe, "I'm still here." Then the storyteller's voice came back, soft and thoughtful. "Sometimes the hardest part of feeling better is saying you need help," the voice said. "And sometimes the strongest thing you can do is just tell the truth." But that quiet moment wasn't the end. Something even bigger was about to happen. Something that nobody in the studio expected. Even the cameras wouldn't be able to catch it all. A few hours after the show was on TV, Small parts of it started spreading really fast online. People were sharing little clips. Keanu had been calm and quiet. The host's voice had shaken. The whole studio had gone silent. It felt real, different from other shows. It didn't feel fake or made up. But behind the stage, things were starting to fall apart. A video that someone secretly recorded backstage started showing up on the internet. At first, it seemed boring, just workers talking during a break. But then a voice was heard, clear and sharp. "We want the God stuff pushed," the voice said. "She needs to poke him, make him react. That's what makes good clips." Another voice said, "You sure he won't fight back?" "Exactly. That makes it better." People started watching this video super fast. At first, it seemed like just behind-the-scenes gossip. Then, a person who used to work on the show came online and made a live video. He looked nervous but spoke with courage. "I worked on that show for 3 years," he said. "They always told us, sometimes with words, sometimes just hints, to go after people who talked about faith or belief in something bigger. It wasn't about asking questions," he said. "It was about making people upset, especially the ones who talked about spiritual things. The show wanted more drama, more clicks." He paused, then added, "I saw the notes for tonight's show. They wanted her to go after Keanu." Then came pictures. Pictures of papers with jokes and comments that were written just to make fun of faith. Prompts made to hurt. People started using the hashtag #RespectFaith. It became super popular. What started as a simple talk now looked like a trick. But the trick didn't work. Keanu didn't get mad. He didn't yell. He didn't try to win. He just stayed calm. More and more people joined the conversation online. Actors, singers, everyday folks. They said things like, "There's power in being quiet. Faith doesn't have to be loud to be strong. What happened to respect?" They said Keanu showed more kindness in silence than the whole show did with all its noise. Even people who didn't believe in anything still spoke up, not to defend beliefs but to defend the right to believe. Everything had changed. The host didn't say anything for a while. No posts. No replies. Then late that night she wrote one tweet. "Some moments on live TV aren't scripted. They're human. Tonight I was human. And I'm still trying to understand what that means." People rushed to comment. Some were angry. Some were kind. Most were asking the same thing, why? More secrets came out. Someone who worked as an assistant on the show posted, "They told us Keanu wouldn't make a fuss. He was too polite." But they didn't expect that his silence would say everything. News people talked about it. Shows argued about it. Even faith leaders gave their thoughts. Psychologists came on morning shows to talk about how strong it is to stay calm. Even funny shows talked about it, but this time they weren't making jokes. One even said, "It's weird." But that moment made us stop laughing and start thinking. In the middle of all this, Keanu didn't say a word. No interviews. No big messages. Just one thing, a picture. A photo of his cross necklace resting on a closed book. No words. People shared that picture more than 6 million times in one day. They wrote their own messages. For the quiet heroes. Faith under fire. The book is closed, but the message is loud. In the days after, the talk kept growing. Articles came out everywhere. Some people praised Keanu for being calm. Others were mad at the show for trying to make fun of him. Many people said this showed how much people are still looking for meaning, even in a world that laughs at belief. Later, the host was interviewed on a different show. She looked tired. Her voice was soft. "I didn't think I'd feel anything," she said. "But he didn't fight me. He didn't make fun of me back. He just listened. And that did something to me. I wasn't ready for it." What started as just a TV interview had become something much, much bigger. And then, just 1 week later, the network made a big announcement. Keanu Reeves live again. This time the ad was simple. No jokes. No flashy lines. Just a promise. A conversation that moved the world. When the night came, the studio was full. Lines wrapped around the block. People held signs, not angry ones, but peaceful ones. Silence speaks. Faith is not a fault. More Keanu, less noise. Inside, the feeling was electric. Not like before when people waited to laugh. This time, it felt like something important was going to happen. Everyone held their breath. Keanu walked in the same way he did before, quiet, calm. He wore the same cross necklace. The host welcomed him. She looked nervous but kind. Her voice was softer now. "Keanu," she said, "thank you for coming back." He nodded and gave a small smile. "Thanks for inviting me," he said. She asked a soft question about how he felt after the last show. But before he could answer, something strange happened. The lights flickered, not a little but big flashes. The screens behind them glitched. The crowd gasped. A sound worker leaned forward, unsure. Then total silence. The mic stopped. The lights dimmed to almost darkness. The humming noise in the studio disappeared. For 10 whole seconds, everything was still. It didn't feel normal. Felt magical. Keanu didn't move. His hands rested in his lap. His cross necklace glowed softly in the dim light. The host just stared at him, frozen. Nobody in the crowd moved. Nobody spoke. Even the workers weren't sure what to do. Then, everything came back. The lights turned on. The sound came back. The screen started working again. But something was different now. The host sat quietly. Her eyes filled with tears, not from fear. From something else. Something deep inside. She turned to Keanu. Her voice was shaking. "I don't know what that was," she said. Keanu looked at her calmly. He wasn't trying to win or be right. He spoke softly. It wasn't about winning. It was about touching someone's heart. And for a moment, everything felt like it stopped. The people watching didn't clap. They didn't cheer. They just sat quietly. They sat with Keanu. They sat with her. They sat with themselves. It felt like, for one small moment, everyone in that room remembered something they had forgotten. Something quiet and beautiful. Like peace. Like stillness. Like respect. Then the voice of the storyteller came back. There are times when we don't understand what's happening. Times when science and rules can't explain it. Some people call it a mistake or a glitch or a problem with the machines. But what if it wasn't any of those things? What if, for one heartbeat, the world stopped for something special that we couldn't see? Later, the workers at the studio said the silence happened because the machines had to restart. Or that a wire had too much power. But deep inside, no one really believed that. Not after what they saw in her eyes. Not after the way Keanu sat so still like he knew it would happen. Not after the way it made everyone feel. That short video clip, 10 seconds of darkness and then 10 seconds of silence, became the most watched moment in the show's history. Not because someone said something, but because everyone felt something. That moment, which seemed like a mistake, became one of the most talked about, watched, and special videos ever shared online. And what Keanu did next touched even more hearts. The video of that silent moment during the live show spread everywhere on the internet. People couldn't stop talking about it. Talk shows showed it again and again. Experts slowed it down to watch every second. Podcasts made stories about it. Some people said it was just a glitch. Others believed it was something from God. But nobody could say it didn't change people. Millions of people watched it not just once but many times. Not to figure out what happened, but to feel that special quiet feeling again. That calm. That peace. In a world that always talks and makes noise, that silence said more than any loud words ever could. Keanu didn't make a big statement. He didn't go on talk shows. He didn't try to explain anything. He just posted one simple photo. A wooden table. A book that had been read many times, now closed. His small cross lying gently on top. The words below said, "Sometimes silence is the most powerful answer." It didn't need to become popular. It didn't need hashtags. It found its way into people's hearts on its own. The host of the show posted something the next day. She had no makeup. No special lights. Just her and her phone camera. She looked into the camera and spoke clearly but gently. "I didn't know what I was doing that night," she said. "I thought I had to be in control. I thought the goal was to win. But he didn't try to win. He just gave me space." He paused. "And maybe God spoke to me that night. And I finally stopped laughing long enough to listen." The internet didn't get mad at her. People didn't try to cancel her. In fact, they supported her. They saw something in her tears and her honest moment. It wasn't weakness. It wasn't shame. It was real. It was something they felt inside themselves too. After that, a wave of kindness began. A hashtag started spreading. Hashtag My Faith Is Not a Fault. It wasn't meant to protest or argue. It was people sharing their own feelings and stories. People with all kinds of beliefs. And even people who didn't believe anything began to speak. One woman wrote, "I stopped wearing my necklace after someone made fun of it. I just put it back on." A teenager wrote, "I never believed in anything. But maybe I can start believing in peace." A man from Brazil wrote, "My mom used to pray for me. I always rolled my eyes. Today I thanked her." People in churches, mosques, synagogues, and even meditation circles all shared the same words. Faith doesn't need to shout. Meanwhile, the news tried to understand what happened. Some experts said it was just a tech mistake, a small power drop or a computer bug. But others looked deeper. One doctor who studies the brain said, The body reacts to that video like it does when hearing beautiful music. The heart slows down. Stress goes away. That moment made people feel better inside their bodies. A therapist said, "We're not used to people just being quiet and holding space." That moment helped reset something in our hearts and in our culture. It wasn't about who's right or wrong. It was about remembering what we forgot. Kindness, quiet, and truth don't have to be loud. Back at the studio, the host quietly left the show. No big drama. No big news. She simply posted, "Some conversations are more important than content. Thank you, Keanu." Keanu didn't say anything back. But one day later, a photo appeared. A candle was lit beside a folded note. The note said just this: "You were heard." Then the storyteller came back one last time. Keanu Reeves didn't try to preach. He didn't argue. He didn't raise his voice. He carried pain, but he didn't use it to hurt anyone. In a noisy world, he reminded us, faith isn't weakness, and silence can be holy. As the last scenes played, we saw a video. A child in a hospital room watching the clip and whispering, "That's what calm looks like." A father hugging his daughter at the airport, both wearing little crosses. A group of strangers sitting on a rooftop. No one is talking. No phones. Just breathing. And finally, Keanu walking alone through a quiet park. The sun is setting behind him. His cross rested gently on his chest. If you like this story, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Leave a comment below and let me know what you think. And don't forget to subscribe for more thrilling adventures, mysteries, and unforgettable moments. Your support keeps these stories alive and the creativity flowing. Thanks for watching. I can't wait to see you in the next video.